Anyway,
Right.
welcome to another Grit and Grime basketball podcast. I'm your host, as always, David Sagoe, here with Thomas Arnal. This side.
Good day. No, the other way. The other
And
side.
Jose Garcia, Vidal. Hey.
I like how we rehearsed
We
it.
rehearsed that and it just went completely bonkers.
You got it right every single time. I feel like you've done that on purpose. Just piss me off.
Yeah.
I'm trying,
Yeah.
man. You can only try these days. So we're back with another episode for your head top. We are sponsored as always by dateamericanwomen.com for
Yes.
all of your dating abroad needs. They have tips, they have advice, and they have a huge user base of 30,000 members, and they've been matching people for over 10 years, so they know what they're talking about.
Doing. Yeah.
Get yourself over there, get dating, meet people, find someone lovely, fall in love, and get married like these guys. They're not both married. They are both married.
Yeah.
Edit
Yes.
that out, Tom.
Happily.
Get married like these guys. So, today, the NBA goes on. 100 more games have been played since the last time we saw you. They're coming thick and fast. Nothing? All right.
No.
So,
Easy.
we wanted to talk about an interesting topic, which I find topical with all of the things that are going on in the NBA right now. We're going to talk a bit about super teams. Okay. Currently, in my opinion, there is one super team in the NBA, and that would be the only team in New York, the Brooklyn Nets.
Brooklyn's not part of New York. That's fine.
I thought
on the
for a second,
outskirts.
I thought you were going to say the Knicks. I forgot
Who?
that Brooklyn is technically in New York.
The Knicks.
Who?
The Knicks. You know the historical team in New York, the best team. Yeah.
Playoffs last year?
The
No.
historical team in New York are the
Playoffs?
Yankees.
Playoffs the year before?
Nah.
Playoffs before that?
A while ago, but that's not what we're talking about tonight.
Championships this
the-
century?
They're a real super team. They're a real team, and that's super. Okay, that's what you need to know.
Okay.
If it
fair
gets you
enough.
W's, then it's fine. If it doesn't, scrap everything, burn it down. That's what Mike would say.
Yes.
Shouts to Mike. So yeah, so we have the Nets, who the small market teams are complaining are buying up all the buyout players. They want to force a change in the rule, even if it's just moving the buyout the buyout season essentially to before the trade deadline, so that
Sure.
teams can't wait and see what players don't get traded and then pick them up for cheap on that market, or bring in more stringent restrictions, which is possible, which I think would be silly for reasons I said last week. They will end up shooting themselves in the foot somehow, because they always do. Anytime they try and do something to limit player freedom and try and limit big market teams and stuff like that, they end up shooting themselves in the foot somehow. Like, for example, when they changed the rule on sign and trades, it meant, because of the Heat teaming up in Miami, that the Heat teaming up in Miami,
Yeah,
LeBron, Wade, and Bosch teaming up in
That
Miami.
usually happens.
Hey, Toronto are playing in Tampa.
Mm.
Yeah, because of LeBron, Bosch, and Wade, they inadvertently prevented the OKC Thunder from keeping Harden, Ibaka, Durant, and Westbrook. Can you believe they were all on the same damn team?
That's crazy.
And yeah, and that inadvertently led to the Durant trade to Golden State. These are the things that happen when you try and tinker with these things.
But they could go what the MLB does, which is once you've got a player on the market after a buyout, everyone has to enter a bid to sign the player. So if you're not interested, obviously you go, well, I'll enter a bid of $1 for you. But like
Right.
if you're interested, then it means that every single team has to, and every single the player has to.
It creates competition.
Yeah, it creates competition. Whereas right now it is, well, okay, fine. I'm signing for that team only.
The player's choice.
Don't worry about it. Yeah, I don't know if it'll change anything, but in terms of like giving a chance to everyone, because right now the player can well go ahead and say, I'm not even going to entertain the idea of talking to you guys. If you do that system, you can go and say, okay, look, I wasn't considering Oklahoma City, but their bid is really good.
Right.
Like financially, it makes sense. It would be good. It'd be a good deal for me, even if in terms of
right.
You know,
you don't. You still don't. You don't have to go to the highest bidder.
No, you don't have to. You don't have to.
You still have a choice.
Because you're kind of a free agent, right? After you,
it's like another free agency. Exactly.
Okay.
So you go and even if you don't, you don't have to go with the highest bid. You just go with the one that you think is still good. But at least it's creating that market.
It's gonna be hilarious when like the Lakers are like, yeah, the minimum. The Nets are like, yeah, the minimum, and then OKC's like 30 mil, and they're like, I'll take the minimum.
Yeah.
I want a championship. I've made my money.
But I don't know if you know the terms of every single bid, though. I don't know if that's made public. If you know what I mean, like, right. I don't know.
It wouldn't have. It wouldn't have to be, but they would know.
But that would be funny. Yes,
they would know, right? So that brings us to the topic of super teams. The Nets currently, I mean, they won the Battle of New York without Harden.
By nothing.
By a small margin, though.
By 2.
With 1 star and spare parts.
We don't have stars.
Yeah, they have 1.
Come on.
And the rest of the team was absent.
But even role players have a great part to play in the Nets, and they actually didn't do too bad.
They have some good ones.
I mean, I watched the extended highlights, to be honest, of this Battle of LA, and Zubac completely underrated. Good, good center down there. Aldridge is Aldridge. He scored his, mid-range shots and actually three pointers. I mean, what am I talking about? I'm talking about the Battle of LA.
Are you talking about LA or are you talking about New York?
I'm talking about LA. I have them mixed up in my notes. Talk about the Nets. Yes, so LA, adapting.
Nets.
Harden got injured in the first quarter. So that was a problem, but Kyrie played extremely well. And he just, oh my God. He just completely took over that team.
Yeah, he gave them 47-5, baby.
But then Green played well, Harris played well, Claxton played well. Like, role players are really, really good in this team. Like I was saying,
they've really gelled, and they've had the chance to because of the injuries to the stars and superstars.
Yeah. And this gives you so much trust for the future, like in the playoffs. Like, it's almost gonna be unbeatable, man.
It's like the Spurs model when Pop would occasionally rest the big 3 and just say, let everyone else get it done. Go ahead.
That big 3 was not this massive big 3. I mean, it's completely different, I think the only mega superstar there was Duncan, and Manu and Tony were really, really all-stars, but they weren't superstars.
They
weren't MVPs, right? I mean, regular season MVPs, but Kyrie, Harden, and Durant are regular season MVPs and Hall of Famers and superstars. It's at their prime at the same time.
Yeah, it's a different beast. So I guess the topic of conversation naturally goes to them being the favorite for the championship. So, in my opinion, they're the favorite for the championship, assuming good health across the board. That's probably the dumbest thing to assume, given how the season's gone. You're both nodding. I just wanted you to each say a little bit about why you think they are the favorite, why you don't think anyone in the East or anyone in the West might be able to knock them off.
Well, it depends really. It's it like you said, if healthy, then yes, favorite. If one of the three isn't, it depends. Depends what configuration they go. No, but it depends on what configurations they go into the playoffs. Like if you just say Kyrie is healthy, Harden is 60% and KD is just 30%. He's not game ready. You're not gonna go far. If you're gonna hit the Bucks, if you're gonna hit the Sixers, and if you're gonna get yourself the Heat, yeah, good luck.
So what you're saying is 2 out of 3. 2 out of 3, they're not favorites.
I think they need the 3. They need the 3. 2 out of 3. I don't think it's enough. I mean, Harden will burn out as usual. Kyrie will do Kyrie. You watch it.
I disagree.
No. You tell me. Harden's played the entire season last year. He's had a short summer. Yeah. He's been banged up. The way he went out from the Rockets was shit. He's been banged up since he's joined the Nets. Okay, he's had a bunch of good games. His history. He's got a bunch of good games. You see,
only a bunch of good games.
He's got 2 or 3 games when he was good. But he's got a tendency to pick up injuries real easy, and you've seen it last night when he just came in, played 4 minutes, and fucked right off.
But he had already been injured because I can't remember what the injury even was. He had already picked up an injury previously. Yeah. He's not an injury-prone player. He always plays games.
I don't think so.
It's either that or he'll burn out as usual. I actually think.
Well, I think one of them.
The 3 of them, yeah.
Well, one of them still 2 out of 3 they're favorites still. With one of them, they are
for the championship.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. 3 out of 3 they're unbeatable, and 1 out of 3 they have a shot. Because it is a regular season. A shot of the championship.
Tequila.
Tequila.
They all 3 of them have carried the team in different occasions. Regular season, that's fine, but they have.
Wait, what's your stuff like? If it's just one, let's say it's Kyrie healthy, what are the chances of winning it all? Okay, of them going through the East, which is now with the Sixers, Milwaukee, Miami who's coming back strong, and then having to play in the West against either the Jazz, the Clippers, Lakers, because Bron would be back, and Denver's maybe. Denver could be the dark horse that comes out of nowhere, and
different story. Yeah, Denver's improving absolutely.
In seven, Kyrie has to do it all.
He doesn't have to do it all though. Like that's why they brought another 2 old guys that can still help and shoot and have experience in the playoffs. Come on.
Okay.
Wow. Okay. Fine. Jose's all in. Nets doing it all.
Let's not forget DeAndre Jordan, Aldridge, and Blake.
Yeah, exactly. My point.
Don't rule them out. Man. The oldies they have experience. Yeah. Against the Bucks, I choose the Nets with one of them, with one of the 3 big dudes.
Really? Oh no, they're not.
Yeah, man,
that.
Come on. The Bucks.
No.
Past 2 years, they were a complete disappointment. They choked in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, they got stopped for sure. I don't know if not one of them. One of them is not enough. Not with Drew Holiday there, the newly minted Drew Holiday. Not with
sure one of them. It's debatable, but 2 of them is done deal.
I think 2 could make the finals, but I'd like my Lakers' chances against 2 of them.
Well, yeah. I mean,
I like
you're
LeBron
biased,
and AD
though.
up against Harden and Durant.
What configuration Lakers are we talking about? Are we talking AD and LeBron back? Because AD sounds a bit.
Yeah.
Because you have
if
to,
either
right?
if either of them aren't back, the Lakers don't make the finals.
Oh, I agree. Yeah.
Boom.
They need both.
Yeah,
both
I agree there.
And firing. Yeah, they need to be on their job because that retooled Denver team looks scary to me. And the Clippers will always be a bad matchup.
The Clippers are really they're not making any noise this season, but they're really, really good. They've improved from last season drastically, and Like the MVP race that people are starting to talk about. It's like no one's mentioning Kawhi, but he's having the most efficient season of his life, and he's playing amazingly well. And I'm surprised he's not in there in that conversation.
It's not extremely high numbers, I think. Like his points, like he's not overshooting,
Sure,
like you would expect probably from an MVP, but he is efficient, absolutely.
But take him out of the Clippers.
He has been out of the Clippers. I think that's the other side of it, right? Because they have had their players miss games, and that's why no one's talking about them, because it's similar to last year where they barely played together. And
rest them.
Yeah. No, I mean, this year, much of it hasn't been rest, actually, because Kawhi said he wasn't going to rest this year. So they've come in with that mentality that if they're healthy, they're going to play, but they haven't been healthy, and COVID and stuff like that has stopped them. And Pat Beverly's been out a lot. So they haven't all been together. And then because their record, like they haven't been, they flirted with number 2 for a bit, but they've comfortably been passed by the Suns now. So it's like, well, why would we give it to a team, give the MVP to a player who's in 3rd place in the West? Even if he is having an efficient season, like you said, the numbers to overcome like an Embiid, to overcome a Lillard or Harden or whoever, the numbers have to be eye-popping. And I think that's always going to be
a Westbrook season, right? Like what was OKC that season when he won the MVP? 4th?
No, they were 5th, I think.
5th, maybe, but he almost averaged a triple-double. So there you go.
Yeah, he averaged a triple-double. Silly MVP. That was Harden's MVP. Yeah, it would have to be that kind of thing. And then also, like, they're a team where everyone knows they have to prove it in the playoffs. Just like the Bucks. Like, Giannis is playing excellently, and he's still not. He should be a front runner for MVP again. He's just as good as he was last year.
But again, he's won it twice in a row, so it's not.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to give it to him again. No matter what.
He's good. Yeah, he's just. As good,
I agree. In a normal, like in an objective world where you just take without the narrative behind it, he should be number 1 or 2. But again, it's part of the story. Is 60% of it, know, and I think that's why Jokic is in a good spot to win it.
Yeah, I don't think he will.
I don't think he will, but he's being talked about. I think the story around him, there's like he's this, he's this chubby guy that is now playing, super fit, and he's now the new Will Chamberlain. It's like or just going past Sabonis in terms of being the best passing big man of all times. Like there's a whole story being brought up around him, and that's part of the stuff. So if it's not this season and he maintains that next season, then it'll be next season. But there's going to be an MVP for him at some point. I'm not worried about that. But anyway, it's not what we're talking about.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So
digress.
Okay, so we are all in agreement that if the 3 of them are healthy, then they're the favorites for the title.
Easy.
Sure.
2 is debatable. 1 is Jose's dream. So we wanted to talk a little bit about what it takes for a super team to actually go and win the title. And I think just because they're the first team that popped into my head, with regards to health, the 03-04 Laker team that got beat by the Pistons. A lot of people forget now, as they always do, as time passes in history, that Karl Malone wasn't fit.
He was banged up most of the season.
Yeah. And he was still playing at a very high level, scoring baskets like crazy, like prime Karl Malone in the playoffs as well. He carried those Lakers for a great time as well, like for a long time.
Yeah. Because that was a team that didn't have everyone healthy all season. That was Kobe's court season. Shaq wasn't healthy for parts of it. And I think Malone was the only one that was there and played pretty much all the games. And like you said, he carried them at times. He played excellent defense on Tim Duncan in the playoffs. Lakers won in 6. You remember that series?
You remember that shot? 0.4 left on the shot clock, and Derek Fisher. Oh, I couldn't believe it, man. Still burned right here.
Yeah. That was a 7-game series that only went to 6. Yeah, he played excellent defense on Tim Duncan. Kevin Garnett got his in the next round. But then, Malone got injured during that Western Conference final and wasn't at his best for the final. And that was all it took. That was all they needed to then take advantage of him on defense. And then the Lakers' dysfunction on offense was enough for the Pistons to destroy them in the finals in 5 games.
Yeah, I mean, the Pistons' defense was just one of the best defense in history.
Ever. Yeah,
collectively and individually, because you have in Ben Wallace a player that, being as short as he was for a center position, where centers were still a big deal in the NBA, and were better because they were bigger. He could defend Shaq, very good way actually.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the roster right now, and they had such good players in that team.
Yeah.
Those Lakers, all 3 or 4.
But the Pistons as well. That Pistons team was a lot deeper than people remember.
Sure.
People remember the 4 that became All-Stars the next year: Billups, Rip Hamilton, Rasheed Wallace, and Ben Wallace. Tayshaun Prince was obviously there as the 5th. But that team had a lot of depth. Yeah, Lindsey Hunter, Memo Okur was on that team, I think.
Memo Okur. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of depth on that bench as well. And they went through a grueling East. That was back when games used to finish in the 70s and the 80s.
My favorite time.
It's horrible.
67, 69. You're like, oh, yes. Deserve that basket. Go and get it.
Yeah. And yeah, they pulled it out. You could argue that they would have won anyway, right? That he wasn't big enough. He wasn't a big enough miss to make up a 5-game win.
Yeah, okay.
With the 1 win coming in overtime as well. Yeah, you could make that argument, but it shows that when you assemble these super teams, that health is super important.
Yeah, there's the
primary thing. And other factors, as I think that the style of play of those Lakers, they were still running the triangle offense, and if you haven't done the triangle offense for a while, it takes time to get used to it, especially if you're not the main guy. So Karl Malone adapted because he is veteran, whatever. I don't think Gary Payton adapted completely to it. Right. So and with Kobe being out, then who is your shooting guard? They had who was it? Devin George was like a shooting guard, small forward.
Yeah.
Rick Fox, right? But that's it. And Shaq being out, you can't put the ball in the post, so you rely on Malone. Then Malone is quite old, so he's gonna feel it at the end. So it was a recipe for failure. And yes, I remember seeing the beginning of the season, like thinking, oh my God, what a team. I think that being healthy, they would have had a better chance, but I agree that the Pistons might have still won it.
That's true. I don't know. I had a sneaky feeling. I do remember the start of that season. I was like, yeah, the names on that roster, it's amazing, but they're all super old. Like Peyton was at the end, Malone was at the end. It's like, it's quite an aging team. So, and again, what Dave was saying with it is like, especially for that type of team with that type I'm sure the average age must have been quite high up that time, and health is the biggest issue there. If you can keep them all happy during the season and healthy, and make sure they don't overdo it over the regular season, then you'll be fine. But
Another-
and then you messed up.
Yeah, we were saying earlier about how players these days, and Popovich introduced this into the NBA and probably in 07, 08 or after that, to rest players. Nobody did that back then.
No.
Yeah, that wasn't a thing.
No.
You're right.
Right? So if you can, give your players, especially that old like Malone, Peyton, some rest time. Shaq probably needs some, to be honest. I don't know. It would have been completely different. I mean, probably, right? You will never know.
Yeah. And then moving on to another team who won a championship, the most amazing championship that was ever won in NBA history. Still talking about it today. Starting lineup still has never been beaten, but they then got an injury the year after they won the championship, and an injury the year after that, before finally being toppled by another super team. I'm of course talking about the 07-08 Boston Celtics.
I knew you were going with that one. Yes.
I actually have their roster with me as well.
So they won the championship in 08 over the Lakers. And then I think the year after was, what was that? 2009. Was it KG, I think, was injured?
I believe KG was injured after that, yes.
And then 2010, Kendrick Perkins gets injured in the finals, I think.
They brought in Rasheed Wallace that year as well.
Yeah. And yeah, I always found it funny that Doc Rivers said that our starting lineup has never been defeated, still hasn't been defeated. He said it in like 2015 or something. It was just like, I mean, okay, but you have one championship to show for it, cherish it. But that doesn't mean you would have won fully healthy, because
of course not.
Teams are always missing someone or something.
To be fair, they had Brian Scalabrine in there, so that's automatically make them go to
White Mamba.
White Mamba. So what are you gonna do?
I just saw a video of him the other day on Facebook where this high schooler, like, you didn't know who he was, like, still an NBA pro, man. He won a championship. Like, have some respect. Right?
And Scal just put him under the basket.
Yeah.
Wasn't playing around.
They're crazy, those kids. They don't know. They just don't know.
So this is a team that it was perfect for Rondo to shine as a passer, as a defender.
Yeah.
It was. I don't think he's ever played that well again.
I actually think
it was perfect for him. Yeah.
I actually think his best year came a bit later when some of the other players were injured. Remember he played with the broken arm against Miami?
Broken arm?
I can't remember.
Yeah, Dwayne Wade broke his arm. He like hyperextended his elbow.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And he played with his arm in a sling in the playoffs and was excellent. He's a different dude. But yeah, that Miami, I don't know if it was that Miami series actually, but one of the Miami series is he basically went toe to toe with the big three, and you're just like, how is he doing this? He was doing everything.
It's just Rondo. It's just a question of motivation. Everything is in his head. It's like as soon as he's concerned by something, as soon as he's got his eyes on the target, like he becomes a different beast. He and that's the funny thing. He's got that image of him being quite neutral in regular seasons, but then when it comes to playoff time and he knows his team's got a shot at doing well, he's just, again, going back to my 2K team building, but like every time I would start with a point guard, I would go with Rondo. Just like
we need to get someone to go through the records and put together the every time on 2K team. Every time
it's a running gag, but yeah, it's pretty true though. I'm not, no lies.
It's gonna have 9 point guards on it.
Thing is, though, is this actually a super team? It was just a big three.
You don't think
Rondo became a top four on that big four, but he was not a big, superstar.
He wasn't. He was very young at the time as well. I don't call it a super team because of Rondo.
we're just talking 07, 08, right?
Mm.
Okay, I'm just looking at the roster. No, yeah, you're right. It's not really a super team in the same way. It's not the deepness of the Nets now, for example. But I think it's more of a super team in the way that I put them somehow along with the Spurs in the way that it's like it's like a big three. It's like a super three that plays well and that complement each other very well. But then the rest of the team is slightly, it's solid. They'll do what they have to do, but it's not. Do you know what I mean? No, Dave is not convinced.
It doesn't. Okay. No. And I'll tell you why. Because is Paul Pierce an all-star?
Yeah.
Is he? Yes, he is.
He was an all-star. Yes.
Yeah.
He was.
25 points per game scorer.
Yeah.
KG, a few years removed from
100%.
an MVP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ray Allen.
And
another all-star.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hall of Famer.
So if you take the Spurs,
and
it's the
two
same
of
step.
them joined the team that summer.
Okay.
That's a super team.
Yeah, sure. But what I mean in terms of the way that the roster and the team was built, that's why I equate them to the Spurs, the big three of the Spurs, and then the rest.
But
of
they
the
weren't
roster, the way it's
drafted.
built. Okay, well, forget about the drafting and the
Spurs players were drafted.
Yes, okay, that's fine. That's a different thing. I'm not talking about the way the team was built. I'm talking about on the court and what they produced and what should have been. I mean, the Celtics they're all right. They started. You know, it's a very different way of putting them together, and I agree that it's a very short, a much shorter lifespan in terms of their big three because they all pretty much are in their 30s at that point, right? So and whereas the Spurs one, it goes from Tony Parker being 19 all the way to him retiring almost. Ginobili is the same. He came in quite late, but he was what, 25, 26?
He was 20, 25,
25, I think I remember well. And then Duncan is from, again, 20 or 21 all the way to 35. More than that. But in what I mean by that is just like in terms of the rest of the roster, you've got that massive big three, big names, all stars, all of famers. And then the rest of the team, it's very much interchangeable. Like you can bring in anyone and take anyone else. Like those names are like, do you know what I mean?
Sure, but I actually think that the Spurs, if we go on super teams, the Spurs had a better team.
Yes.
The next year.
Yes.
The following year, after that year that they won the championship in 14, the following year they had a better team because Kawhi became a superstar. He wasn't a superstar at the beginning of the 13-14 season. He became a superstar. He was already really good in the finals against the Heat in 13, but he wasn't at the level that he played in 2014. So in 2015, you could see that the Spurs was shifting attention from Duncan and putting it on Kawhi already. And it was a style of play that, and they were beaten by the Clippers, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Right? We talked about it a couple of episodes ago. Yeah. So you can argue that was a super team because you had three players still, it's just 1 year later.
You see, I don't like it. We're talking about super teams. I don't like it when people throw around the term super team.
Right.
If the team was drafted and put together, if the team was built through the draft, it's not a super team.
Right.
Period.
Right.
So
then how many players do you need for a super team?
3?
I think
minimum?
you need to bring in at least 2 stars.
Right. Okay.
So that's the parameters of your team, of your super team. Then
have 3 stars.
So you must.
The Miami Heat was a super team too.
Miami Heat was a super team. They already had Dwayne Wade, and they brought in Bosh and LeBron.
Golden State?
No.
Okay, yeah, but he's right though, because they drafted Curry. They drafted Curry. Well, okay, Curry. No, he got drafted by the Hornets, but he got traded. So they drafted Curry. They drafted what's his face, Clay. Drummond. No, not Drummond.
Draymond.
Okay.
Yeah, drafted Draymond.
And then they brought in KD, and that's it.
Yeah, they signed Iguodala as well. He's a big part of the team.
Yeah, but it's not a superstar.
Not a superstar.
Not a star. Yeah, exactly. Not a super team. They were just
right.
an amazing team, one of the best teams ever
Yeah.
assembled, but it wasn't.
Damn you and your logic.
That's just how I see it. Other people would disagree with me.
So the Brooklyn Nets, they hired Garnett and Pierce same year also. Would you consider them as a super team?
They were old.
Dude,
But-
on paper,
but-
on
but
paper,
on
the
paper-
history.
At
but
the
then we just
time-
talk about the
Paper?
Lakers.
Yeah,
We just talk about the Lakers.
Exactly.
at the time,
So they still had Joe Johnson and
yeah,
who was
Darren Williams,
right?
Brooke
Darren
Lopez,
Williams.
Darren Williams.
Brooke Lopez, and then they brought in KG and Paul Pierce, and Miami
Aging, sure, but
Jay-Z.
same as Malone and
Miami
Payton.
just knocked them about.
Like they will do again this year.
Miami lost every game to them in the regular season. The playoffs came and they just went.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, maybe we learned from. I think part of the difference is that even when Gary Payton and Malone went to the Lakers, even though they were old, they were coming off 20-point scoring seasons. Both of them had scored 20 points the season
It was
before.
still very relevant.
They were aging well, basically. And yeah, that's the difference. I think we kind of knew that Pierce and KG weren't stars anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
But that's my. Other people disagree with that description, but that's the way I've always seen it.
I have another one for you. The Cavs.
I
one?
saw the Cavs as a super team. LeBron returns.
I'm talking after Kyrie.
After Kyrie.
What season is that?
Oh no.
Wade, Isaiah Thomas, and
Jay
Derrick
Crowder.
Rose. 3 All-Stars. 3 All-Stars. Dwayne Wade, Isaiah Thomas, and Derrick Rose.
Technically, he's not incorrect.
I
If you
know.
take your
3 All-Stars.
I know.
Now, then after that, they decided to bring all these other players that would just give the ball to LeBron, which is what they did. But it was a super team, and it was seen at the beginning of the season. I also thought, oh, well, wow, okay, all these players together. You know?
Did you think the infamous Derrick Rose super team was a super team when Derrick Rose went to New York with Carmelo and who was the third? Was it Porzingis? Who was the third part of the super team?
Jeremy Lin.
Yeah, hell yeah.
He was playing really well.
I could not believe what I was hearing when he said that. Derrick Rose just came out. Yeah, everybody wants to talk about super teams, and I was like, wait, what? You? New York? It's not a super team. Sorry, Derrick. You're not. You're not. Hashtag not my MVP.
Oh, come on. So that's what 2016, 2017, right? 2016, 2017.
That's 16, 17, yeah.
I'm just going to look up the Knicks roster on that. Yeah, I cannot remember it for some reason. Knicks.
Hand your cap in.
17 roster. There we go.
But yeah.
Oh yeah, Porzingis.
Yeah. And it's like, no.
So technically.
Sorry, Derek.
And then Jennings, yo. Hey.
Is that a big four? It's not a super team, it's a big four. Big five. That was it. It was Noah. It was because they signed Joakim Noah. And I was like, wait, what? Who do you think Noah is now? Who do you think you are now?
All-star, technically.
Technically, hey, Noah's met. He finished fourth in the MVP votes or something.
He's just retired.
Third.
He just retired. Or third, yeah. You see?
Yeah.
Put some respect on
another Lakers team.
Super team.
Super team. Kobe and Gasol, and they hired Nash and Dwight.
Yeah. That yeah. Only on paper it was a super team, yeah.
Super team.
Yeah.
Super team.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree. Super team. Nash was
super
at the
bad
end,
season.
but
yeah.
I just picture McLovin.
McLovin, right.
It didn't turn out right. We didn't realize Nash was that close to the end. Obviously, Dwight coming off back surgery, we should have known he wasn't gonna perform at his best. But yeah, super team, man, super team.
Oh, hang on, I'm just looking up. It's funny when you look up super teams in the NBA, and the list of failed super teams are much longer. There's a lot of websites that actually putting the Golden State Warriors as a super team, but then that's because
that's to follow the same criteria.
Like they have the Cavs in there as Irving, James, and Love, which is the 2014, 2017. Then the Celtics, Miami Heat, as we said, with Bosh. But then Golden State Warriors, drafted and signed KD. So if you take that, super teams of the past, obviously you got Lakers in 82 to 89.
Does it have in the 2000s? There was this team that I thought of earlier today that I'd completely forgotten. Anton Jameson joined the Mavs. And I think it was Jameson, Dirk,
and Nash.
Was Nash still there?
Or Kidd? Jason Kidd then?
I think it was before Kidd got there.
All right, so if you look at failed super teams, there's one from 98-99 season where Olajuwon was there, Barkley was traded in, and Scottie Pippen was in.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. What a team!
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Was Drexler still there? Clyde Drexler?
No, I think he retired, and that was part of how they were able to acquire them both.
Right.
I think
because Clyde won a couple of championships, didn't he, with the Rockets?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, with Yes. No, was he in our Rockets team that won in 94?
I think so. Yeah, 94 and 95. That's what. Sorry, 90.
Yeah, 94 and 95.
Yeah. 4 and 5. That's when Jordan retired and then he came back there. I think so, yeah.
The Glide.
I think he was. I believe he was. I wouldn't bet my house on it, but I think he was. Whilst you're looking that up, there's one that we forgot that was very recent. That was another failed super team. 17-18 Thunder with Westbrook, Paul George, and Carmelo Anthony.
Not a super team to me.
That's a top three. That's
Clyde was in that team, by the way.
He wasn't. Damn it.
He was.
He was.
Okay. Shouts to Clyde. He's such a forgotten man in the story of the NBA. Jordan just shrugged on him. Poor guy. Yeah.
So Melo.
Yeah, Melo wasn't the same. You signed Melo. At that time, you signed Melo. You weren't signing a star.
That's what we ditched him.
Big reputation. Not a big game anymore.
Well, that was back in the days. But that was that moment when he got asked by a journalist about coming off the bench, and he went, So yeah, I think he's changed his tune now. But
yeah.
But at the time, that was funny because they told him he was the missing piece to them winning a championship. They saw it more as a big three.
Oh yeah.
So So like when he's being recruited and teams are saying you're the piece that we need to win a championship, like you are going to put us over the top.
Yeah.
Then he gets there and you're asked about coming off the bench. Like, why would you ask that? It didn't make any sense to him. It was a funny moment though. He said, "Hey PG, you're asking me if I'm going to come off the bench."
I think it was that one moment when I wished he would have had the Kawhi laugh, just going. And not a word, just laugh it off.
So the 03-04 team I'm talking about with the Mavs, they had Steve Nash, Mike Finley, Anton Walker, Anton Jameson. There's someone else in here, Josh Howard.
And I forgot Josh Howard. Yeah, he was meant to be big at one point.
Who was the start? Was Sean Bradley starting center? Well, beast.
Sean Bradley was still there, probably.
Yeah. I remember that team and just being like, wow, everyone can shoot on that team. And then they couldn't play any defense.
Didn't Stojakovic move to the Mavs at one point as well?
He was on the Mavs at one point, yes.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Did he
Not at that time.
Did he win the ring? Was he there in 2011?
Nah.
I'm not sure, man.
He was on the Mavs. There's definitely that's 100% for
I
sure.
remember him playing for the Mavs.
This pod is no longer being called Super Teams. It's now being called. Was he there that year?
No, he was because he was on the Kings from 98 to 06 and then moved on to the Mavs in 2011. So no, he was.
Yeah. So he was there for the championship.
He was there for the championship, but he wasn't there for the big Steve Nash era.
Because he was beating them in the playoffs with the Kings.
Yep, with the Kings. That was a super team.
But drafted mostly. No, hang on. Well, they just didn't get all of the. They didn't all of them get at the same time. Weber got there before Divac, I think.
What was that season where the refs gave it to the Lakers?
Yeah, it was
02.
02.
That was 02, right? The Kings should have been champion there.
Nah.
Yes.
Arguable.
Mike Bibby, Stojakovic, Weber, Divac, freaking Doc Christie, Gerald
Just
Wallace.
a great team.
Oh,
That was another team that was really
Scott
deep.
Pollard.
bloody hell. Thunderberg, he was massive as well.
Thunderberg.
Oh.
I mean, none of them could stop Shaq. That was the thing. They had 5 centers to foul Shaq. It was a hack a Shaq all the time.
And did you see the free throws that Chris Webber missed in the final game that allowed Robert Horry to win the series for them?
With a little bit of
Chris
help
Webber,
from our friends in Gray.
Yeah.
Knock down
Chris
your
Webber
free
always
throws.
always
down
has
your free
something.
throws.
You know, he missed an NCAA championship because he asked for a timeout and he got a technical foul because
by the way,
they didn't have any more.
If you want to watch that, the Fab 5 documentary is on Disney Plus. I literally watched it last weekend. Oh my god,
it's so good. What a team!
That's a super team.
All recruited for that season.
All recruited and hired allegedly by Michigan.
Hired, yeah.
Well, if you're hiring someone, you have to pay them. So
Yeah, hell yeah.
Allegedly.
Yeah, that has to come to an end soon, for sure. This has gone way off the rails.
Dude, we digressed so hard on this one.
Gosh, this is what happens when Tom hosts the podcast, man.
I didn't do shit. But that's true, though. Stay on topic.
So, I'm just looking at the time. Yeah, we've gone on long enough. So, obviously, the Nets have to stay healthy. Is there anything else they need to do to ensure success this season?
I think you have on each of the 3 bigs of that super team, you have 30 points guaranteed if you need them. So they just need to be healthy.
Simple. What about, are we no longer concerned about the defense? Is their offense so good that we just don't care?
That's the thing. You see, that's the one thing that's bothering me is that, okay, for them to destroy everything, we need those 3 to be back healthy. They've played 6 games together in the regular season, and that's not a lot. And okay, the argument to be had is that, okay, they're such great players, they don't need that many games to gel. But I'm still, because I keep banging on about it, but the playoffs is just a different sport. It's not the regular season anymore, and that if they come up short, especially when you've had to nurse Kyrie and KD the entire season, I don't know. I really want to see in a playoff configuration. Really, I want to see with the intensity. I want to see it with teams actually playing defense, because right now the only thing we have to judge them is 6 games with them on the court from a regular season where defense is optional now these days. So that's why I'm not 100% I know when I say they should win it, because on paper, again, they're far superior to anyone else. The roster is just packed. But once, and that's why I'm a bit worried for them to play. If they play against the Heat and the Heat goes into playoff modes like they were last season, the Heat they're obviously a lot lighter in terms of roster, but they're still the fact of being on the court and diving on every ball and just being physical and playing a good defense for 48 minutes. It's not something that you just turn on and off like that because you're KD and you're Harden. And like at the end of the day, Harden's not known for his defense. Okay, you can get help from the bigs, that in the paint to cover for whoever will go past him. But I don't know. It still needs to be seen. I think to pass a judgment, like a definite judgment upon the Nets, like I need to see them after the first round of the Eastern Conference, where defense is being played. I think then you can get a pretty good solid idea of what they'll end up doing. It's two different sports to me, the regular seasons and the playoffs. I keep saying that every single year, but it's it's rehearsal times right now. I want to see after a round of playoff basketball.
Jose?
Can't argue with that. Let's reanalyze after the first 2 or 3 playoff games, at least, right?
Funnily enough, you say that. Right now, number 1 in the NBA standings in the Eastern Conference is
the Nets.
Your Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah.
And number 8 in your NBA standings are the New York Knicks.
No, we're not 8. We've really. Oh shit.
The East. Wow.
Ah, God damn it.
Battle for New York in the first round against an NBA defense, Tom.
Well, there you
Coach
see them.
Tibbs himself.
Throw everything at them. We'll see what's up, But yeah.
You'd love to see it. You gotta have the fans for that, though.
Look. Tell you what, I would actually mind it. Like if you go out in the first round against the Nets, you put a good, you show a good time to the Nets. You play defense, and maybe they sweep you, maybe they don't. Maybe it's in 5, maybe it's in 6, whatever. But then I'd be like, okay, if we get kicked out in the first round, I'd be like, yeah, go Nets, go get that title. Now we can always brag that we lost against the champion. There's nothing bad in losing against the future champion. See,
basically finalists, right? Basically finalists.
Basically finalists.
So not.
Same thing. Hey, do you not understand the desert we just we were we found ourselves in?
Fair enough.
Take anything. Anything's a win right now, okay?
Oh man. That would be fun. That'd be a lot of fun. They're currently 25th in defensive efficiency in the whole entire NBA. New York are 3rd, so they would be going up against one of the better defenses in the league. I'm trying to think if there's other stumbling blocks. I guess the other thing about that 03-04 team, as I said, was the offense was dysfunctional. So that can often be a reason why super teams don't actually work. Sometimes it's because it's not a super team, Derrick Rose. I don't see any dysfunction within the players on this team. I think the chemistry has been really good, and I think it will be really good. Tom was saying a couple weeks ago that they're veterans, right? That's part of the difference between them getting together to play and 3 young guys getting together to play and arguing over the ball and stuff like that. It's gonna be an interesting playoffs whenever the time comes. And we'll see if this is gonna be a successful super team or an unsuccessful one.
My question is, what's unsuccessful for them? Like, if they make the finals, is that like
they have to win it all?
Do we judge them like they have to win it all?
Yeah, they have to win it all. That's
no excuses, man.
Yeah.
No excuses.
Okay.
2 MVPs. Got to do it.
Yeah.
Got to do it. Just like the Warriors. Like, it's championship or bust, man.
True. I mean, to be fair, yeah. If you look at the players they've added in, yes, it's all in this season. Win now. It's true.
Absolutely.
Yeah, nice as well.
Yep.
Oh God, I think I'll be off Twitter for about 6 weeks if they win it. 'Cause, from what I've seen from the Nets fan last night, it's just.
I'm surprised you could find the Nets fans. Hey.
Oh, they just come out of the woodwork. Like it's just funny. They just suddenly they're there. It's almost like no, I'm not gonna say anything, but I won't say anything.
Yeah, no offense to Nets fans. I like the Nets too.
They're right.
I think that's it. I think that's it for this week. Let us know in the comments. Let us know on social media. Do you think this Nets team will win a championship or not? And if not, why not? We have been the Grit and Grime podcast. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and review the podcast on all platforms. At Grit and Grime Pod on socials. Sponsored by dateamericanwomen.com. As always, I have been your host, David Sagoe. He has been Thomas Arnal. And he has been Jose Garcia Vidal. And we're out of here.
Bye.